Hashtag Land Matters. Yes, it's every Jamaican's dream to own a piece of this rock and set a nice house on it. Well, good news for you, because in today's Jamaica magazine, we're showing you how government is making that possible. Welcome to the program. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Coming up, learn how the Land Administration Management Program is enabling poor Jamaicans to gain their land titles. Plus, government and private sector find more ways to address the housing needs of the most vulnerable, including those living in squatter communities. We start things off with this timely message, followed by the news.
Some marine, you know.
Yeah, man, I have the pack is 60,000.
60,000?
Yeah.
How much I want?
Yeah, man, 2 bales I want, man.
Oh, well, yeah, man, no one else.
5 grand, you know.
Yeah, man. Alright,
What one, cat?
you don't know, I sit downtown the other day there.
Oh.
All the brethren, them man, we buy and sell marina. One of them I sell a 6-pack for $1,000, and the next one I sell one for $200.
So where why?
Buy 5 of them for $1,000. Think them can't rob me.
So Uncle Fancy is the same $1,000 you would spend to get the 6? Seriously?
Tell them again now, my math brains.
Math count.
Math counts.
Sponsored by the Ministry of Education.
Good day, I'm Tamara McHale, and this is your GIS News for Tuesday, April 14. Beneficiaries of the estate of persons who died without leaving a will, including those under the age of 18 years, should soon find it easier to acquire their inheritance. Legislation to expedite the process of administering estates for such persons was passed in the Senate on Friday, April 10.
This bill has the potential to transform the lives of many families who have been adversely affected by the antiquated and cumbersome legal arrangements in this area, and to release to their rightful owners productive assets that have been tied up in a legal morass for decades.
The Administrator General's Amendment Bill empowers the AG to transfer properties to secondary beneficiaries as long as they are able to prove their relationship to the deceased owner. It's expected to significantly reduce the burden on the probate division of the Supreme Court and on the resident magistrates' court. The Justice Minister says it represents the most significant reform of the law of probate and administration of estates undertaken in Jamaica in over 160 years. A $3.9 million project to protect the Yalas and Hope River areas from degradation and improve water resource management has been launched by the Water Ministry. The 5-year project is being funded by the Inter-American Development Bank through the Global Environment Facility. At Monday's launch, Portfolio Minister Robert Pickersgill said the project would provide institutional strengthening, capacity building and sustainable livelihoods in agriculture and forestry in watershed communities.
It is imperative, therefore, for the government, stakeholder agencies and departments and communities to give careful consideration to activities which will impact our watersheds.
The Watershed project will also see to the reforestation of 400 hectares of degraded land in the Yalas and Hope watershed. Meanwhile, Minister Pickersgill announced that Black River is to benefit from an $11 million watershed area management mechanism. That project is being implemented by the National Environment and Planning Agency with financing from the Tourism Enhancement Fund. Increased foreign direct investments from the Jamaican diaspora will be targeted in this year's Diaspora Conference.
The policy framework is geared towards investment in all its spheres. Tourism, manufacturing, services. Our cultural output in Jamaica is so strong that we have to involve the diaspora because they are very interested in all of this. Sports, for example, and sports tourism. These are the sort of things that we want to stress in our policy framework when we meet in June.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade was speaking at a recent GIS think tank. About 2,000 participants are expected to attend the 6th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference. It will be held from June 13 to 18 at the Montego Bay Convention Center under the theme Jamaica and the Diaspora, Linking for Growth and Prosperity. More Jamaicans are now proud landowners following a recent titling ceremony in Westmoreland. 102 residents of Operation Pride schemes in White House and Whithorn received their titles under a Housing Agency of Jamaica land titling program.
Our remit is to make sure that at least 45,000 Jamaicans become owners within a 3-year period and more to come down the road. We have started the program and we're going to ramp it up.
Recipients were implored to encourage other residents to make the required deposit so they too could receive their land titles at a minimum cost. The disabled community is now benefiting from a donation of 550 wheelchairs. Christian Fellowship Outreach Group will be distributing the wheelchairs, which were donated by the Errol Rattray Evangelistic Association in partnership with Jamaica Free Wheelchair Mission. At Monday's handing over ceremony, Director for the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Unit in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Maureen Irons Morgan, expressed appreciation on behalf of her ministry.
The gift of wheelchair supports the Ministry of Health's commitment to universal health coverage. We especially seek to create a secure future for our vulnerable population in ensuring that our elderly and persons with disabilities are fully integrated within society.
And finally, Minister of State in the Works Ministry Richard Azan is promising residents of Northwest St. Andrew to make it a priority to address the breakaways being experienced on their properties. Mr. Azan made the commitment following a tour of roadways in the area on Monday. He said a technical team from the ministry would be looking to see how best they could deal with 1 or 2 of the more serious breakaways.
I'm hoping that maybe by next week if we can able to get in the estimates and to see what solution we can come up with.
That's it for JIS News today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thank you for watching.
But wait, what do you miss P?
Why am I stressed out?
Stress out about one now.
What the land problem?
What kind of man problem now? What do you married?
No man, land problem. I wonder if I'll get the liquor title.
What does it mean to you to own a piece of land? Collateral? Liberation? Self-actualization? Well, however you choose to articulate it, the government is enabling more Jamaicans to experience this. Just recently, Land Minister Robert Pickersgill encouraged Jamaicans to capitalize on the $90 million grant funding from LAMP that will help them complete the process to acquire their titles. See, LAMP is already bringing this benefit to others.
1,000 residents in the parishes of St. Mary, Portland and St. Anne have benefited from land titles courtesy of the Cadastral Mapping and Land Registration in Jamaica project, an initiative of the Government of Jamaica in collaboration with the Government of Korea through the Korea International Cooperation Agency, KOICA. Today we explore more about this initiative and hear the stories of some of the beneficiaries of this program. So come, take a walk with us.
I want to tell them that I thank them. I love what they are doing because they're doing a great job for Jamaican.
Great job indeed. 2013 saw agreements signed between the Republic of Korea by way of the Korea International Cooperation Agency, KOICA, and Jamaica, represented by the Ministry of Water, Land, Environment and Climate Change. It's for the land titling project that expands the LAMP2 contract, which was signed with the Koreans in 2010.
The KOICA project is basically a spin-off from the LAMP2 project, which specifically looked at a partnership between the Government of Jamaica through LAMP, the Korean Cadastral Surveying Corporation out of Korea, and a private sector partner in Jamaica, Geoland Title Limited.
Through this program, many are getting the tool to access the path of personal empowerment.
Growing up, my father have land, never have a title. Dead gone, I couldn't get nothing out of it. Right? And now I have my kids, them can have something.
We decided to focus on land settlements because of their history and context in our Jamaican life. Land settlements are basically lots that would have been allotted to Jamaicans, working class persons, years ago. And one of the main challenges that we have had in terms of sorting out titling for these land settlements is that the surveying cost is really prohibitive. So what it is that we're doing is that the Koreans are providing the funding and actually contracting surveyors here in Jamaica to do the survey work so that we can expedite the processing of these titles for persons.
Approximately US $2 million has been pumped into this land titling initiative by our Korean partners.
We KOICA team assist the LAMP program to accelerate the LAMP process.
The 3 parishes to benefit was decided after extensive study.
Those parishes came out of rigorous discussions with ourselves and our Korean partners. There was a feasibility study done, and there were actually representatives from Korea who came and looked at sites with us, visited sites. We had several of them, and they were the ones who indicated that when they looked in terms of just physical amenities, access to water, light, those were their concerns when you look to see how many children we saw when we went there at the times, whether or not the persons were involved in farming, what kind of work they did. They were the ones who guided us in terms of, okay, we think that these are the areas that we would want to assist you with.
A similar process was used to select the 1,000 beneficiaries to ensure those who needed it the most received the help. Some beneficiaries from Crooked River in Anotabe St. Mary shared how they came to be selected.
Them come and them put up them circle, and we read the circle and see the necessary information, and we carry the necessary document and got the location, and in the meeting them inform us of what is taking place.
This program benefit me in a good way, because we know that in the coming future we have a title to look forward to, and we can use it to borrow money to do whatever we please.
I'm feeling very, very good, because most of all, having our own title, we can do anything with it. Can go to the bank, borrow money, because me have my little girl. She soon reach college stage, so we can get it to benefit from.
I wonder where Chantal is. You know me can't find him for wait. I know when they know. Watch me her name. Hey Chantal, where you watch? GIS.
No most you know say that the program are the best.
Them always the places where you have progress. I'm here to them there. Don't me now forget.
I most Manchester's finest.
Hey, hide the remote, not change the station. Cause we soon come back with more information from the school and the station where you're number one, from the school and the program where you're number one.
Which government organization offers you exceptional customer service? A tax office, police station, hospital, post office, health center or NIS office? Vote for your favorite public sector organization in the Public Sector Customer Service Competition. Call toll-free 1-888-991-2752. Visit cabinet.gov.jm and follow the instructions. Or drop your entry form at government agencies island-wide. Votes close April 30, 2015. Let your voice be heard.
Social inclusion and protection is the strategic priority of our government. And part of that involves enabling more vulnerable Jamaicans to access housing opportunities. Get the insight now from both government and private sector on various measures being implemented.
Creating social inclusion and protection for the most vulnerable Jamaicans through the provision of adequate housing solutions remains a major priority for the government of Jamaica. Examining housing financing for the neediest, increased public-private partnerships, strengthening law and order in informal communities, and reintroducing Operation Pride. Just some of these solutions that came out of the latest intervention by government to create more housing opportunities for all Jamaicans. This involved a partnership with the Caribbean Association of Housing Finance Institutions, Cash-Free, to explore the issues with stakeholders at a recent housing conference.
major challenge in terms of the housing sector in Jamaica. That of providing housing at an acceptable standard to those households who cannot demonstrate effective demand for even the most basic housing unit. Left to their own devices, these households have created and will continue to create unplanned informal settlements, most of which are devoid of both basic physical infrastructure as well as social amenities. Although this is a national problem, the state must take the lead in responding despite the macroeconomic challenges.
To address the problem of inadequate housing financing, government has been working with its regional and international partners to find solutions.
We are looking at measures to do with different modalities in terms of financing for housing. We are looking at the no down payment in certain circumstances. This was tried before. It never worked, but we do believe that with some amount of refinement, we might be able to have that as one of the options on the table. We are also looking at the type of building materials that we utilize. In Jamaica, we have a tendency to want to build with just concrete and block. And we don't want to be open to other building systems and building materials. I think we're at the stage where we have to look at things like this. We need to look at our urban spaces. As we mentioned, some of it has fallen into a state of deterioration. The whole business of urban renewal, seeing how we can consolidate some of the lands we have in the urban spaces where infrastructure already exists.
Government cannot solve the home financing problem alone, so it's looked to partnerships with the private sector as well as regional and international partners.
The issues of lending and home ownership is central to the objectives of the members of the Caribbean Association of Housing Finance. And through this body, we seek to and continue to advocate for policies that support the expansion of housing to meet the needs of the people of the region.
An effective mobilization of savings and internal resources, equitable investment, and above all, good management are issues that still need our special attention.
At the recent Cash for Housing conference, Jamaica and its regional partners also explored the impact of crime on the housing market, especially informal settlements, often called squatter dwellings. One point of consensus: law and order needs to be strengthened in these communities.
Our recommendations are these: building relationship between police, the builders, social networking, proximity policing, social intervention programs, restructuring of community infrastructures.
These communities could therefore become more attractive housing options, negating the need to find land for housing elsewhere. The final major plan of action put forward at this critical housing conference was to re-establish a program that was quite useful in the past in helping the neediest afford homes. That's the Program for Resettlement and Integrated Development Enterprise, more popularly known as Operation Pride.
I wish at this stage to signal the intention of my ministry to execute a thorough reassessment of the program, as it represents the only realistic option available for tackling the problem of the increasing percentage of households being forced to develop formal, unregulated approaches to meet their housing demands. And we argue that the best option which the country has is to return to a revamped version of the Pride initiative, whereby the state utilizes the assets of land to facilitate the redevelopment and formalization of what are now informal settlements into structured, regulated communities.
The government of Jamaica forging ahead despite the economic challenges to create more solutions and put more Jamaicans in a place called home.
Now to matters of health. The Responsible Ministry continues its campaign to ensure that parents and caregivers see to the immunization of their children. It's an important step in preventing possible illnesses and diseases. Learn more in today's HealthWise.
Picture the world without vaccines. There would be widespread epidemics, unstoppable diseases, and death. Thanks to vaccines, we are able to protect ourselves. Vaccines are medicines, but unlike those that cure or treat diseases, they prevent them. Jamaica has long been engaged in this preventive mode of healthcare, even enacting laws to enforce compliance.
Jamaica has had a very robust, expanded program on immunization, which has allowed us to have very high coverages for our vaccines.
Since the country's first expanded program of immunization in 1977, Jamaica has eradicated and eliminated many serious diseases. The country had its last case of polio in 1982, the last case of locally transmitted measles in 1991, diphtheria in 1995, and rubella or German measles in 2000. The last case of newborn tetanus was in 2001. Still, this is no reason to let down our guard, as many countries still have annual cases and outbreaks of vaccine-preventable diseases such as measles, which can spread through international travel and tourism.
Jamaica is a well-established tourist destination, and so we have to remain vigilant in terms of the introduction of diseases into the country, and therefore do all that we can to reduce any possible impact on our population.
In early 2015, a measles outbreak in nearby United States highlighted this need to remain vigilant. In response, the Health Ministry launched a multi-million-dollar measles prevention campaign in February. It targets 195,000 children island-wide, ages 1 through to 6, in 3 phases.
Phase 1 will target children attending clinics at the health centers for routine immunization services such as the 18 months booster doses. Phase 2 will seek to capture children at the basic infant primary schools and daycare centers. And Phase 3 will focus on targeted community outreach for those who were not immunized in Phase 1 and 2.
The campaign, which runs from February 16 to May 8, primarily involves procuring and administering additional doses of the measles, mumps, and rubella MMR vaccine.
We will be going into communities to ensure that the children that we have not as yet seen in the health centers or in the schools, that they are immunized.
Children who may have missed their complete MMR doses or any other compulsory vaccines available in the public health sector will be given them during the campaign. Measles is a highly contagious respiratory infection caused by a virus. Symptoms generally appear 10 to 14 days after exposure to the virus and include a fever, dry cough, runny nose, sore throat, inflamed eyes, and skin rash.
It is spread by coughing, sneezing, direct contact with persons who are ill with the measles virus, and also contact with any of the droplets, the materials. This virus can remain alive on surfaces for up to 2 hours. It presents as a non-specific flu-like illness.
Everyone has a role to play in keeping Jamaica measles free. Parents and guardians are to ensure every child is fully immunized.
The Ministry of Health provides vaccines for children at no cost in the public health sector. This was the case prior to the introduction of the no user fees policy. And continue.
So get your child's immunization card or child health passport ready and visit your nearest public health center or clinic. The current 3-phase immunization campaign is running concurrently in all parishes.
All our health facilities type 3s and above are now designated daily vaccination sites from Monday to Friday during normal opening hours. So parents would need to bring, for children born before 2010, their immunization cards. But we implemented in 2010 the Child Health Development Passport, which have the immunization record. And once they take those, the public health team, which is usually either the public health nurse or the midwife within the clinic, would check, see what vaccines the child would be eligible for, and administer same.
Everyone in the targeted population will be vaccinated unless they can provide documented proof that they have received the completed doses of the MMR vaccine and any other compulsory vaccine. The Ministry of Health has taken the decision to offer the completed dosage of MMR vaccinations earlier. Children born July 2013 and after are now offered the booster dose of the MMR vaccine at 18 months old instead of 4 to 6 years.
It therefore requires that those children who would be 2 and 3 years old, and in the previous schedule, they would be getting their vaccine at 4 to 6 years old. All of those children would be among the group that we need to immunize now.
Under the country's 1986 Public Health Act, all children should be fully vaccinated by their first birthday and get booster shots after that. And all children under the age of 7 must be adequately vaccinated for their age prior to entry to school, which includes nursery and daycare facilities.
It is the duty of every parent to have their child immunized.
Failure to comply with the regulations can result in prosecution in a court of law. The regulations only allow for exemption from vaccination based on medical reasons and not on religious or philosophical beliefs. Prevention is better than cure. Vaccinate today and reduce the risk of infection from potentially dangerous vaccine-preventable diseases.
So, as you know, U.S. President Barack Obama had a town hall meeting with the youth leaders just before he left the island last Thursday. The young people discussed a range of issues with the president, including the economy and entrepreneurship. So what did the youth think about the interaction with the president?
I think the town hall meeting was excellent. For me, what stood out most was his advice on debt management and the fact that we don't need to just spend money because we have money. We need to be more efficient in our spending, and we need to invest in things that will bring returns in the future so that there's development for our country.
It was an inspirational experience, and I particularly liked how he addressed the question of China being such a powerful nation, especially along the landscape of the global economy. That his concern is not how well China is doing, but that China is really helping people to have a better quality of life.
I believe this was an excellent occasion. Not only was it momentous and historic, but the President's presentation touched on some very critical issues that are going to be important for Jamaicans to consider.
I thought it was very informative, refreshing. I thought that President Obama was honest in his answers, and it makes me hopeful as a young person that there is a future for me.
The town hall meeting was rather inspiring. I mean, not thinking that the U.S. was so deeply involved, in considering Jamaican youths and progress and culture. And this event today was the stepping stone of hope for me, at least, to show that things are being done, we are being considered, means and measures are being put in place to care and to think about our future and what we can do to benefit and to grow the society.
This is how we close the pages of today's Jamaica Magazine. Thank you for joining us. Please share your feedback. Email us at jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. We also invite you to visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for the latest news. On behalf of the entire production team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Have yourselves a productive evening.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.